Welcome back, everyone. I'm Joan Engerbretson from Telecompetitor. I'm here with Ed Gassel from Viavi Solutions, and this is part 2 of our Innovator series. Today we're looking at reviewing and testing the drop. What are the key considerations to make sure the last mile connection, the drop to the customer location, is done correctly and in an efficient manner?
We always call it the last mile, but it's typically the last few hundred feet or less. Technician that installs that, they've got to get it from the drop terminal right into the customer prem to the ONT, where the service terminates, and where they then have the Ethernet connections or Wi-Fi connections off into the home. They got to do a lot of work to get that installed and in place. But once it is in place, what they need to do really is make sure that before they connect up at the drop terminal, that they're on the right port of the drop terminal. They may use a visual fault locator to trace that back to the splitter cabinet. They've got to inspect those connections with a microscope, a probe microscope, to make sure that those fiber end faces are clean before they get connected up. And they've got to make sure that their power levels are good there at the drop terminal. Then they get into the home where the ONT is going to be, and they'll do the same thing there. Make sure that those connections are all clean and good, and that they then measure the optical power to make sure they've got enough optical power to fire up the service. As
providers roll out higher speed PON systems, coexistence of multiple types of PON is becoming more common. GPON and XGS-PON, for example, might be deployed over the same infrastructure. What factors need to be considered when this is the case?
Right, so that's a really important question because, as you say, more and more people are deploying these networks that have coexistence. So you've got multiple wavelengths on the exact same fiber. So what you need to do in that case is use not a broadband power meter that measures all power that is there, but rather to use a wavelength selective power meter that filters on the specific wavelength of the service that you're interested in. In other words, the service that you're actually installing for the customer. So the wavelength selective power meter lets you filter in on the specific wavelength. So if the customer's ordered XGS PON, being able to look at that wavelength and not measuring all the power that is there, because measuring all the power that's there is going to give the technician an optimistic idea as to how well the service will work.